I read something the other day, man. It said healthy relationships sometimes consist of tough conversations. So, you know, and again, that word accountability, man. Sometimes we can't just always talk about sports, and we can't always talk about the holidays. Sometimes we have to have those difficult conversations. As men, we have to hold ourselves accountable. And so if that means we have to talk about a certain situation that may not show that person in a positive light, then we have to do that. So,
Right.
right.
Welcome to the Clear in the Air podcast with D and Q.
I'm D.
I'm Q. Season 3, man, is here. And this season, like other seasons, man, we really just want to take some time going through things, talking about things, clearing the air on things in relation to men. We got a lot of responsibility. We got a lot on our plates. We have a hard time talking through things. We have a hard time at times dealing with things. And again, we don't need to suffer in silence. So that being said, there's a few things that we have in mind that for 2023, actually there's a lot we got in store, but we wanted to take a few moments to give our subscribers, our listeners, our fellow podcasters an opportunity to give us some feedback. But we want to give you a little something so that you can give us feedback on. And we're just going to talk about briefly a few topics that we want to cover that we think are very important in relation to men this year. So, D, kick us off and give us an idea or two.
Um, well, the first one I had, I think we need to do an update on the investing. I know we had a couple topics we did last year. We had our guys from Urban Digital to kick off the year. And then we had our 6-month check in. And then we said we was going to recap, what kind of improvements we made or any efforts we made in that area. So we need to do that. Definitely talk about that.
I think what's dope about that is because people say, well, why you keep making updates? One thing to pay attention to is things have changed. The economy has changed. It's fluctuated, inflation, recession,
Right.
these different things. So I think it's necessary and to start the conversation to say like, okay, have y'all shifted? Have y'all changed and switched up your idea for what you planned on doing or how you've invested? So things like that. Um,
How about you?
for
Go go.
me, for me, I'm definitely saying family. I'm saying family, and there's so many different nuances within that. So there's plenty to talk about. I'll just stick with for now, just talking about family dynamics. So many ways to go with that. Whether we're talking about bonus children, whether we're talking about co-parenting, whether
hmm
we're talking about children in general.
hmm
So many places to go. Child support.
hmm
We're gonna let it go, but
Come
go
on,
hit us with
man.
the
Come
next
on,
one.
man. Come on. Get more specific. Come on. Say his name. Say his name.
Oh man, you want me to talk about your boy Nick, man?
Yeah, we
Well,
be putting
look.
that up. He gonna be included in that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, true. Well, remember, he's not the only one. I've been
He's
seeing a
not.
lot of things. Some guy had 30 kids by 11 women talking about he need help paying the child support. Um, NBA young boy.
hmm
It's
hmm
just yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
definitely think stuff like that needs to be discussed. And I want to say this real quick before we go to the next thing. I'm gonna shoot back to you. Our conversations are not based out of judgment,
Right,
but a lot of times they are based out of accountability, and that was a word we used a lot back in 2022.
right,
And I think it's going to always be a relevant theme,
right,
accountability. So
right. I read something the other day, man. It said healthy relationships sometimes consist of tough conversations. So, you know, And again, that word accountability, man. Sometimes we're gonna, we can't just always talk about sports, and we can't always talk about the holidays. Sometimes we have to have those difficult conversations. As men, we have to hold ourselves accountable. And so if that means we have to talk about a certain situation that may not show that person in a positive light, then we have to do that. So,
Right, right,
you know,
right. I like that. Go ahead, man. What you
yeah.
got? What's next?
I think one of the things I'm looking forward to us talk about, and it's kind of broad, we'll definitely get into it a little more, but I think we've been kind of tiptoeing around it, but we haven't really dove into it. And that's the mental health aspect. And I want to specifically talk about, anxiety and depression and how it seems to affect a lot of people, especially now since the pandemic, post pandemic. We
Hmm.
see it a lot in kids now as well. So
Right.
I definitely want to. I'm looking forward to digging deep into that topic as well this year.
What's up? I think I touched on one of those things briefly, but I think it was a good segue
Right.
as we
You
talked
said
about
mental
what you're
health.
going.
Right.
Well, I talked about what we was going to carry into 2023,
Right.
and I touched on one of those topics. Great segue to go into talking about it as a full episode. But yeah, I think hip hop, man, it's gotta be discussed. I know we just kind of talked about, we mentioned Nick Cannon and we mentioned NBA YoungBoy, but hip hop, the impact it has. And I think you
Mhm.
had a little something you wanted to talk about or mention when it came to that.
Yeah, I wanted to. At the time, we were going to talk about some of the losses that we were enduring in hip hop. We had PNB Rock, Takeoff, Young Dolph the year before. And
Hmm.
so there was this notion that, you know, being a rapper was like one of the most dangerous occupations in the world.
That's what Bootsy
So,
said.
right. And so I guess the positive thing is we haven't really lost any here lately. So that's a great thing. So, but it was still something that I think that we probably should have touched on before, but I think we can still touch on because it's very relevant. I mean, there's still rappers out here touring, they're still out here hosting and doing different things, having shows, and they're just
Hmm.
they're being targeted. You got big weekends coming up as far as All-Star weekend, Super Bowl, things like that, and you hope and pray that we don't hear these unfortunate stories that happen at those kind of events. So
True. What you got? You got something else?
yeah, I was just gonna say since I talked about those weekends and occasions coming up, we got to throw a sports topic in there.
Hmm.
We hadn't done one of those in a while. When it comes to the NFL, Super Bowl is coming up. We're in the playoffs right now, so we need to talk about that. We need to talk about the unfortunate Damar Hamlin situation, but how it's kind of turned around. He's improved in his condition.
Hmm.
There was an interesting situation that happened with your team, a fan of yours, that
Hmm.
pretty much got berated at a Raiders game in Vegas, and your Patriots reached out to him and did something really nice for him. So we definitely going to
Hmm.
touch on that a little bit. NBA, of course, you got NBA All Star Weekend coming up, second half of the season, that playoff push, trade deadline coming up. You already hear
Hmm.
some names floating out there. So we definitely gonna have that sports topic, that overall sports topic, and then
For
just break
sure.
it down. Yeah,
For sure.
that,
For
yeah.
sure.
That's pretty
I,
much it that I had, bro. You got one more? Oh, you
I
got
got
some
one.
more?
I got one more.
Okay,
I think this is, it's gonna kind of be congruent with some of the stuff that we've been talking about as of late.
good word, congruent. I like that.
Yeah. So shout out to MLK. We just celebrated his birthday. We just
Yeah,
honored him.
yep,
We got Black History Month,
exactly.
which leads me to really kind of asking this question in a sense. I know season one we talked about was college necessary. Whether you debate whether it is or it isn't, what I don't think is debatable is high school, like, 0 to 12. But what I think needs to be discussed is what should be taught in our schools that's currently not being taught?
It's a good one, man.
How can we prepare our children better for, a world in which maybe they don't go to college? Or what is the best way to go about going to school if that's what I choose?
Right.
So I think, to round it out, I think those are some really good topics. I like that one because no, it's not just, how can we learn more about Black history, but how can we better prepare our children, regardless of what age or race that they may be.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
And that'll
man.
be good because last year we touched on, do we think Black history, how do we, our thoughts on how it's taught in school, and do we think it's sufficient? So that would be a good way to piggyback off that because, like you said, not just maybe not specifically talking about Black history, but just in general. How can
Exactly.
we educate our kids better? So yeah, that's a
Exactly.
good one, man. Don't forget February we got Valentine's Day as well. So might have that Lovers Day episode.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So, um, I think we've cleared the air. Again, this is
Right,
one of those things. What we do want to say is we don't do this for ourselves. We can talk off camera.
right.
You know what I
And we
mean?
and we do.
And we do.
Right,
We hold each other accountable. We talk
right,
at least 2, 3 times a week,
right,
and that might be a bad week.
right, right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? So the idea of this is to get you guys engaged with telling us, yo, y'all have covered some stuff, but we would like to hear you talk about this. We would like to hear you cover this. We're open to the feedback. We want it. Again, season 3, we got features, we got collabs, we got all of that.
Yeah.
But but we don't want to just be out here doing stuff that we think is good. The whole purpose is to help. We don't know everything, but the purpose in helping is starting the conversation, which again is something that we have a hard time doing often. So, maybe you don't say a lot, but you can listen.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
listen and you can listen to different things that you might be struggling with internally that you wouldn't dare say. That's one thing I could say about now. There is a lot of information you can consume. Now, it needs to move beyond just consuming information to taking action on it.
Mm-hmm.
But 15, 20 years ago, you might say, I didn't have access. I didn't know that. Now we kind of got the world, at our fingertips, whether it's like this or whether it's like this. You can click on a podcast. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to necessarily engage if you are introvert.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, you got all kind of internet warriors. Will be an internet warrior about your growth.
Right,
This is what this is about. So
right, right. And I want to say with that, this is the episode when we want feedback from y'all. And if you're not the type to want to leave a comment or DM or something, you got our personal number, text us. You know what I mean? Call us. And if you want to say, hey, I want to keep this anonymous, but I would like for y'all to discuss this, we can do that. Like we doing this for y'all. We want to, like you said, you and I, we could talk all the time, and we do, but we want to do this to try to help others get feedback from others. Also, for the ladies, if there's some topics that y'all want us to discuss in regards to men, some issues y'all may be having, or just some issues y'all may be, kind of curious about, and y'all want us to discuss it, we welcome those as well. So,
yeah. So I'm offline. We're gonna talk because uh, there was somebody, I think a young lady who was dealing with something and she wanted my take on it. And she's
okay,
aware of the podcast. So she was like, maybe y'all could podcast about that.
okay,
So I think as we close, dating, that because that's not necessarily family
right,
if you haven't made that person family yet, but
right,
dating is obviously a topic of conversation that will
yeah,
always go.
yeah. I can go in on that, bro.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
look, your boy, what is it, Andrew Tate and Brittany Renner were on a podcast together.
Yeah. Well, I saw Brittany. I don't know
Yeah,
if I saw Andrew, but I saw Brittany. She changing her ways a little bit, or trying to.
yeah, stay with
Yeah,
that trying to.
yeah,
Yeah,
just trying to. I don't
stay
know
with that
business like
trying to.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Nah, Tate was on there. He was,
okay,
coming from a male perspective. But I think we need more of that because
okay.
look, man, we're not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get
yeah,
into it, but
yeah, yeah.
Stay tuned. Leave us feedback. We've got emails. Some of y'all know us personally. Reach out to us. It could be anonymous, however you choose to do it. But just make sure that you're talking. Talk to us. Talk to those people who are going to keep you accountable. Happy New Year's to everybody. Resolutions or not, add them goals and let's get to it this year. All right. We out.
Peace. Happy New Year.